Right, I was going to have a second look at this trickle charger. Now, I've had it a good few weeks now. I've done a review video on it, you know, because I think it looks alright. I've used it and it seems to be working. However, in that video I did a good review. I don't think that video has gone live yet. It probably will go live in the next couple of days, but by then this one will go live after that, so that video ought to be live if you want to go and see it when it goes live. So I will be taking back a few things that I said about it, because I did give it a good review, but I've done like an experiment and it doesn't appear to be working as well as I thought. So we've got the trickle charger here. Now this battery, it's usually in a car obviously, and after about 2 weeks, because the car don't get used that often, and usually after about 2 weeks it starts to get very low, to the point where it won't really crank over and it definitely won't start, because I don't start it that often either, because the car's noisy, you see, and the old neighbours get the ump if I start it up. So I thought to myself, well, for the sake of a few quid, we'll get an old trickle charger, a cheap one. I know you can get more expensive ones, but I'm cheap, so I got this one to try and keep it maintained. So I did an experiment. I charged it up fully with my battery charger. It was 100% charged, it weren't taking any amps, and it had a good more than 13 volts in it. 13.8, nearly 14 volts. So I then put it back in the car and I left it, and it took about 2.5 weeks. I left it about 2.5 weeks, and I went to try and start the car. It had like the tiniest, enough to power the clock inside the car, but there was no power to crank it over at all. It was completely dead. Bear in mind, this is actually a brand new battery, so you know, but we're going to exclude that. We're doing a test on this, not the battery. So I charged it up fully again, 100% charge. It weren't taking any amps left, and it had nearly 14 volts in it again. Then I hooked this old trickle charger up to it, put it back in the car, because it does advertise that you can charge a battery while it's still connected to the car. So I put it back in the car and I hooked this up to it and just left it. Now it does state that it's supposed to, oh there we go, flashing red, battery and condition diagnosis, it does that. Solid red is bulk charging. Now when it's flashing green, that means it's 80%, and and solid green is charged, maintenance mode. Now if I've charged this battery as far as it's going to be charged, it's got nearly 14 volts in it, well pretty much 14 volts in it, and I put this straight on it, it's more than 80% charged, so it should go to the solid green maintenance mode. However, it goes to red bulk charging mode. So to me that means there's something wrong with this somewhere, because it's more than 80% charged, so it shouldn't go to bulk charging mode. It should go to just the maintenance mode, which is the idea of a trickle charger anyway. So I just left it anyway, and it went for about 3 days and the light was still solid red, to indicate that it was supposed to be bulk charging. So I then checked the voltage on this, and it had dropped down to about 11.5 volts. Now the argument could be that this battery is no good. I then charged it up again, and then I put this in another car that gets used daily, and I used that for about 3 weeks. Now the battery is absolutely fine. There was no depletion in the charge. It started fine, cranked over fine, had no problems whatsoever. So the battery itself is absolutely fine, because if the battery wasn't any good, even being used daily, which this is supposed to simulate, this is supposed to keep a constant charge going in, as if the engine was running and is keeping a charge going in there. And if the battery was no good, it would have deteriorated, and you know, it just wouldn't have started one day, or it would have gradually got slower in the starting. But no, the battery's absolutely fine. I don't have a battery tester, by the way, in case you're wondering. I don't have one of them things you put on and it tests it. I forget what they're called. I don't have one of them. so I had to make do. So it's fully charged it up again, it done the same process, and the voltage actually drops quicker than it would do if it was just connected to the car on its own. It took about 1 week to be completely dead, whereas usually it's about 2.5. So this actually does nothing, it would appear. It's no good whatsoever. It's a shame because it's a very, very well made trickle charger. But what I may do is I may contact the seller on Amazon of this, because it might just be faulty. You know, it might just be a faulty unit. So I'm going to contact them and tell them that it doesn't appear to be working, and see if they will send me a replacement. Because if it does, you never know, we might get one that actually works. If you want my opinion, 0.5 amps is a bit low to be charging up a car battery, but I suppose if it is supposed to be trickle charging, it's not too bad. I'm not an expert on batteries, but yeah, no, I suppose it might be reasonable. Could just be a faulty unit. Who knows? Never mind. I'm not too fussed. It's only a few pounds. I suppose for a few pounds, what do you expect? Maypole. Can't say I've actually ever heard of Maypole as a manufacturer or a brand. They may be a load of crap. They may be a real brand I've never heard of. Who knows? If I do end up getting a replacement one of these from whoever it was that sold it to me, I don't even know, it was some seller on Amazon. If I do get a replacement, I'll do another experiment, and I'll carry out the same process to see if it's actually going to maintain the battery as it should do. And I'll make another video to, let everyone know what actually happens. But as of yet, I'm gonna say this is no good. No good.